Right. Hello, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Happy Sunday evening to each and every single one of us. Mejidi se obia ehoye. So we are back on our wisdom from Proverbs Bible study session. Okay, for this month of January. Mom, it seems as if my light is really, really very dark. I wonder why I'm looking dark on the thing like that. But anyway, see, wisdom from the book of Proverbs. Nana Yukusono. Chapter 18, 18th of January. Ochina, name say yes, see the land Ochina, then we can begin to see the end of January in sight as of tomorrow going. Yeah. Anyway, let's break the chapter down. I hope so. Bia Hoye and everybody's families are good. I hope someone mukwa sorry and the meant to be unquite sorry in it. But I hope someone mukwa sorry and then Yanko pardon. Na bibia kama. Ewa sorry preaching cool ye bibia call fine. Okay. Proverbs 18 talks about words. Enipa yenum kasa yenum unsem. Young words, and we all know so words are spirits, words are powerful, and whatever is coming out of our mouths, we have to be very, very careful, because we could be speaking life into existence or into reality, or we could be speaking the reverse, which is, I don't want to say it because of TikTok yeah, but the reverse of life, yana yahwe yakasa emu yie. We are all still, we're work in progress. And obi ni asase so a perfect human being. Then it also talks about pride and true strength. Okay, pride and true strength. And pride, we all know what it is. Pride, yeah. I don't know, how do you say pride in tree? Ahomaso. And pride, I think, is ahomaso. And ahomaso is arrogance. That's arrogance. And pride, I believe. We all know what pride is. Pride, yeah. Obi Auntie Abena, good evening. I can see you on TikTok. Good evening. Pride, yeah. Obi or trend home. Obi a I don't know how to describe pride in tree. Well, we all know what it is. And then true strength. True strength. When you've built resilience, I believe, when you've built resilience, you've weathered the storm. What fa bibia mu de abrabo betimi de wa fam bia o de wa fam na so ugina ho wo Yesu dim. Good evening, Auntie Abena. Ugina ho wo Yesu dim. Then I think say enipa bi sa na ye beka say oh true strength. I know a lady or United States of America, Oprah Winfrey, and now for Fuana Bako, Iyanla Van Zan, Wapaya program or UK Hama Makobi Krapping. She's a motivational speaker. She's very deeply spiritual. She does this program called Iyanla Fix My Life. And, we're losing a mommy, brabom. Nanso still, she's, was survive it. We're to me, Gina, or the life experiences and the shrink to help them become better versions of themselves, and so on and so forth. And a person like that, I would say, that's a person of true strength. Whereas Ayana Enipa Bebre feels say they have true strength when when near ding. Now so when near ding is from a very negative perspective. When near days, so the open to media me you hear people say things like that. Media me pen to media come me that is not true strength. In fact, that is insecurity, that is cowardice. You're just just bullies. But true strength is obi a wafa abrabom wafa niema bebre nke betumi crush nipa e wa abrabom nanso ono afem a wagye nyankopo adi nti oda so egina is what I would classify as one who has true strength. And the main key points here for Proverbs 18, like obviously our speech, and then humility, which shapes our destinies. Into humility will shape your destiny. Arrogance will also shape your destiny. Pride will also shape your destiny, but it will shape your destiny in a very negative way, in a bad way. And speech and so say a good, not a kind, a soft, a gentle, a godlier, and also will shape your destiny in a good way. And so basically, we're looking at speech, our words today, and humility, as opposed to pride and arrogance and so on. Just a days in Pacho, good evening. Here. Happy Sunday to you and the viewers. Yes, thank you so much, Sister Daisy. Yeah, so some of the key points here are isolation. Proverbs chapter 18 talks about isolation. Isolation without reason is foolish. Yeah, isolation without reason is foolish. Point to be a me pa. Or say words have power of life and death. We all know that. And it's a matter of choice. And I believe, say, as God's children, as God's people, we will all choose the way of life. So we'll speak beautiful things. This is why we do the affirmations at the end of this session. And we are encouraging ourselves, each other, say we incorporate more affirmations into our lives this year, 2026, by looking yourself in the mirror and speaking greatness into your life. But while speaking greatness into your life, Nadia staff, hello, darling. I hope so here on TikTok. Hi. While speaking greatness into your life, how you back it with action so that you can realize the manifestation of it in your life. And then pride leads to downfall, humility leads to honor. Pride and arrogance will always lead to downfall. Humility will lift you up. But then we're talking about true humility. We're not talking about false humility, which there be because I speak a lot to the Ghanaian community. I always say, unfortunately, these are just my personal observations, and everybody's welcome to either agree or disagree. But my personal observation from Nadia, darling, yeah, I'll say thank God. Amen, amen, amen. My personal observation, and they say Ghana phobia will false humility. So they'll pretend as if they are humble until say Obe kind of step on their toe. Or step on the toe, and I'll be pass or you're humble, and I say on your humble. And I say, Oba besre wadia, obana hubrasiem pa, or pe favor be through her, obana hubrasiem. Yene sa favor ni we na hwe say that same person or you humble and I say on your humble. And my experience kakra actually me say I'm I don't even have to apologize for this, but Ghana for be pre and you humble. Ghana for be pretend this or you're humble, but you're humble and you false humility. Into bon say or ba wenima na say ne say gugu nechi and ne idea oboa. The same person ne se gunachi o de me se ma bibi happy sisi a ubehu suban fufura obeda na di onka say ono na 5 minutes ago ya na ne nsa eda na chi no. We have to be able to distinguish between proper humility and false humility. We see this a lot with our politicians. Womo pe votes, they come very, very humble. Womo lower womo free womo high horses. No, so no wa lower ne ho. As wa bad down to a level. No wa beji at the corner or a free wohono. Ne nsa kan rie ya na wasanya sisa. Fa phone na friend na he on few. Sending a message na he on few so we nipa. When I will say Maria Mwakwabuedo New Kachira no Korepa. Let's be very careful when it comes to a nipa ya ye praise warm, we do a humble, we go a humble papa. Yo no ma bebrea. Oma wari Ghana fo bebrea, uko bisa no once upon a time. Oma wari ene ebia wari no aye basa enkoye. Uko bisa ni say na dia na ma upe be ma bi say obeka cho say o sister Michelle no wa ahobrasie. Ubisa ni say na dia na ma wo say no o wa ahobrasie. This is where a lot of people get it wrong. Na oyedi na onkasa. Yeah, baby, free no. We equate obi a ompekasa to say onipa kro humble. We equate obi a free a poor background to say humble. And you hear a lot of Ghanaians say things like, "Oh, I come from a very humble background." And no, you can say I come from a poor background, Men can say you come from a humble background, because poverty does not mean humility. Poverty can humble you for 2 minutes. This is why a lot of young politicians, now what bebre na free poor backgrounds into your humble art or say to me beba bedi nensem. Afi to me ni bedi nensem na sika e bedi nensem now when you sika when you to me obo na fi wada suba info Freddy di achero. Aha. We have to be able to draw those distinctions. Or see, the name of the Lord is a strong refuge. And oh dear, we believe our winning. As some to ya, yes, din the yabo. Your boy yes to din because he say, ya boss, I didn't dear. That is our refuge. It is our sanctuary. It is our peace. It is our everything for those of us who believe in him. And then finding a good spouse is a great blessing. Unya okunopa, ana oyerepa, shira kesiye edimaying. And then the major takeaway from Proverbs chapter 18 is that wisdom guards speech and rejects pride. Wisdom guards speech, rejects pride, and trusts God. So wisdom will guide your speech and guard it. It will guide it and guard. Guard means obohubai. Wisdom be bo wenumun samuhubai. Aha. First of all, be guide o mwa kansempa. O kan wie so a obe bo ban e de ama o. But ompe ahomaso, onyankopon pa ahomaso. And na wisdom ebe boa o ama waji onyankopon edi. Wisdom will help you to continue to trust God and continue to have faith in God. Okay? And that's about it for Proverbs chapter 18. Now, the point I want us to dwell on is yenkai aha, and then we'll go into that. The first key point where it says isolation without reason is foolish. It's a honor. We will break it down a little bit, and that will be my major point for tonight. Na yede apong. And then, of course, like I said, we are encouraging each other to continue reading the remaining verses yourself. Proverbs 18:1, he who willfully separates himself from God and man seeks his own desire. That is the truth. That is the truth. Me and media source, but that no quarry. Obi bia willfully or do or no ane pe. A separate anasa or de ne ho ne pe. E twe ne ho free onyankopon ho. Anasa or twe ne ho efri nipa ho no. Or yes, for or no any desire. No quarry. He quarrels against all sound wisdom. A close-minded fool does not delight in understanding, but only in revealing his personal opinions, unwittingly displaying his self-indulgence and his stupidity. Nyamana me use our words see. A Bible ni use. A Bible ni use our words you until me sramo or chenanko. Yeah. Now, me per se you dwell it on he who willfully separates himself from God and man. Okay, God mpodie. Yeah, na yenta and separate ye hu free ne hu bebre sa because ye nim say Nyankopon de ja ono ane boy ye ho bai. Ono ane provide ma yen. Ono ane ye bibia nti wo ye ne kokotwe wo hu free ne ho. But ye mu bi mu ye twe ye hu free nipa ho. Ye mu bi mu ye twe ye hu free nipa ho. Nti ye ho no. Sister Holly Donko, good evening. Pacho me gidi sa ho ye na senior so me chia senior. Nti ye ho no wan hwe ya obedwene ho aka say Erade that's a me twe me ho free nipa ho a am I making a mistake say ma twe me ho free nipa ho ana nti ho no me ba ba chirechire mu kakra say be ya wo a obuye obi a wa twe wo ho free nipa because me I am a firm believer of say edru ba bi a twe ho free nipa bi no mo ho aha edru ba bi wa brabo ma nipa bi no mo ho a twe wo ho e free wo mo ho and wo twe wo ho free wo mo ho a when you're careful, there can be periods in your life where you might feel isolated. You might feel lonely. I will be sure no but now won't can be. So when you're ding when your memoir, why you be affected. But then I'm coming to explain to you, say there's a difference between isolation and solitude. And that's we come from the standpoint of solitude and not isolation, because we have people around us, we have loved ones around us. We are just very careful, extra careful with the kind of people we allow into our space. Because abrofukurabu best once bitten, twice shy. Ni owa Canada no yesu ohun sonson kura na osuro. Nti no ehɔ no boni bi anim. Nti the moment you're breaking it down, what is the difference between isolation and solitude? Cutting your isolation, you're cutting yourself off from others, often to avoid accountability, advice, or relationship. See, when you deliberately or willfully, like the Bible is saying, cut yourself from people. But the only reason why you've done that, because bear in mind, Proverbs 18:1, no, say isolation without reason. Until now, it means that when you are cutting yourself off from people, there must be a very valid reason, logical reason, sensible reason for which you are doing that. Otherwise, it is foolishness for you to cut yourself away from people. Until if the will cut from Nipa because you are avoiding accountability, you are avoiding advice, you are avoiding relationship. But then it depends on what type of relationship are we talking about here. Into your hono, one say okay, this decision me, because we all talk about blocking people, deleting people for New Year kraba beswa. Yeah, babe kwa 31st night watch night services na. Even asofu no krampo, you hear some pastors say, delete them, block them, delete their number, cut them off. Some pastors to make I say, was it Softwood Dag Haywood Mills in Ribi in Ghana? No, can't say. Or no card you say o telephone contact ne ebi mo why you don't answer one, don't answer two. Pamucho kai say such people no so mo frewa. Say you don't even have to answer their phone calls. But that type of mindset, that type of orientation, no, it can put you in a place of isolation, which if you're not careful, na say when you be a personally developed, what prepare unim dia wo ya, when you're careful, you might feel very lonely. And I make an over here and now one more butching no more now you bet doubt feel be say, hey, have I made a mistake? Have I made a mistake? But say, you'll be aware personally developed, you're deeply spiritual, you vibrate on a high frequency, you've made the right decision, whatever. In fact, you're like, you know what? Praise God, I'm not part of that group. Now, if you kind of say that, because say you made the right decision, you made the right choice, and so on. And whenever you're about to make such a decision, please pray about it. Pray about it. Make sure you've definitely heard from God. Make sure, say, what check one kasa spirit, soul, and body. You are solid within. You are grounded within. Make sure, say, you're making that decision not to avoid accountability, not to avoid advice, or to avoid a good relationship. But then why would you want to avoid a good relationship before you go and make such a decision? Usually the motivation that would back anybody who is isolating themselves is self-centeredness. Self-centeredness. When you think about yourself only, you don't think about the collective, you don't think about everybody else. It has to be you, me. That's where the pride comes from. Or somebody who's afraid, fear. Okay, and then pride. I even mentioned pride already. Because pride, it feeds into the self-centeredness. Or even bitterness. Yeah, this is where the bitterness, where the Ghana phobia like to throw it out there a lot. Bitterness. Or just avoidance. Okay, so usually these will be the underlying factors for which somebody might want to isolate themselves from a group of people or whatever. Sometimes it's in our workplaces or whatever group we find ourselves in, our friendship circles, etc., etc. Okay. The result of that, the result of isolation, one who rejects counsel. Whereas I want a foot one and I won't pay foot. Into a nunti na won't pay amongst a group of people. Okay. One who rejects counsel, one who shrinks perspective. Okay. And this is why I talk about your worldview. And it all boils, for me, it all boils back down to your spirituality, your spiritual level. I say. And then it also increases your vulnerability to making very poor choices and poor decisions, because then you don't have people around you you can consult. You don't have people around you you can run things past. And see, as much as we're saying, we got to always pray first, make sure we've heard from God first. We your relationship with God is very strong and intact. We're human beings. You also need people you can run certain decisions past. But then, who are these people? And whose voice have you been listening to in the past? And whose voice are you willing to listen to this year, 2026 and beyond? You must consider that before, when you are cutting your hair. And then it often leads to emotional or spiritual harm. It's in why you're careful. Now you put yourself in a position where you are isolated and there's nobody around you. It can lead to emotional and spiritual harm. And this is where sometimes we see programs, or I've often seen it in programs. But sometimes you see what's been on for so many years. Ubekɔhwɛ bia wayɛ hɔ that ne dem nyinaa nneɛma sakatu ne fie nyinaa yɛ basa. Why are you lonely? No cut the shopping kakra bi no waba no abɛhyɛ ne de obo hokro ne cat. Sometimes we see, programs abrofibi on ne ono kwa bibi ne si wa abrabom na ma ne ba ne saa ene mo twe ne ho firi ni pam. Na bi e ma ne ba ne saa obo ho a bi ne partner bi ne wu ye obo ho or go through a bitter divorce bi. Ne ma ene yase bibi de no contract family something a womo ka ne ma atwe womo ho afire ne ho ne ma mfre ne biem womo mehwehwe ne biem anti akọ no nko an no hyenti on bibi asi wa abrabom ma watwe ne ho afiri society m onko nipem ono nko an nti hye ne dem nyina bas ne wo na outward appearance bibi aye basa spiritually, emotionally okọ or physically but emotionally, spiritually, only why you're isolated we got to be very careful about that. And that is where Proverbs 18:1 is hammering, say, he who willfully separates himself from God and man seeks his own desire. Because in that moment when you're making that decision to cut yourself from God, which is very dangerous, or to even cut yourself from man, which is also very dangerous and all. In that moment, you're seeking your desire. Na make a bibi nesi, bibi na ba, and ama wa make that decision. No. But we got to be very careful. And the Bible is also saying, Proverbs 18:1 is saying, such a person quarrels against all sound wisdom. It's like you don't want to hear it. You just don't want to know anymore. Now, that is also totally, let's go into solitude, and then we'll see the difference there. So we've done isolation, which I personally would not encourage isolation, but I fully endorse solitude. I fully endorse solitude. Now, this is solitude. Solitude is whereby purposeful time alone for reflection, for rest, for prayer or clarity. Yeah. And no, it is allowed. That is wisdom. It comes a time in one's life where it is okay. So show free nipa. Now we'll go back into yourself purposefully to build yourself up for reflection, Sometimes for rest, oh jewa home every name be no more. Sometimes you are separating yourself from people so that you can have that one-on-one time with God for prayer. This is why people take themselves on retreats. They'll take themselves to prayer camps. People would in Ghana, they say they're going to the mountains. Mountains. That is solitude. You want that space, that time, for yourself, and you determine how long you want that time to be. And you don't have to explain to anybody, to your friends or anybody, when you want to do these things. Sometimes it is just for clarity. You just want to be by yourself. Oh, train decision be. Oh, train no. As you are hearing from God, as you are not hearing, you're not too clear, too certain within your spirit, and you really need that clarity, and that is a time where prayer and fasting, that's the time where fasting, what the fasting and in those sacred moments, to be honest, you really don't need anybody to come and interfere with our atmosphere now we're creating. So it is okay to remove yourself from people and they your one corner, because you're working on yourself, you're working on your life, your etc. Let me give an example. One of my sisters, in fact, yeah, your program. So I invited her to be a part of this. And she said to me, sis, I'd really love, and she was very honest. She said, sis, I'd really love to be a part of it. But the month of January, me time kakrana, me to me near me be no me se me riena me feel se me nya me clarity ni me be biana se unre end of the month and in my me join it. She was very honest like that. I say me join it. Until then, you have to respect, because I'm also a spiritual person. And I understood her immediately, and I said to her, thank you very much, and I wish you all the best with the and it's very important. Now, when it comes to solitude, as opposed to isolation, where the motivation is self-centeredness, fear, pride, bitterness, avoidance, etc., the motivation for solitude would usually be growth. You're growing, you want to realign, recenter. You're working on your own self. Renewal. Oh, do be to Yankopon, so Bible say, all things are passed away. Yeah, body fufro. And to person we are body fufro where radie ni so no. You need that time. Listening. You're positioning yourself, allowing yourself space and time to listen. Now, this is not to listen to the voices of men. As much as we love each other, it's not the time to listen to the voices of men. Sometimes it is not the time to listen to your own husband or to your own wife or to your children, your mother or your father or whoever. It is the time sometimes to listen to your own self. Sometimes we don't realize that we have to pause and listen to ourselves. Because you see, when I say listen to yourself, it is within you that the still small voice is. That still small voice, listening to the voice of the Holy Spirit, which is within you. If you don't tune into yourself, Unim say, there are Seth Badu and Abedum Pacho, good evening. Unim say, there are times where we don't even pause to listen to our own heartbeat. Like, how many times do you pause in the course of the day to listen to your own heart beating, kum, 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 so that you can even give thanks to God and say, wow, Father, I can hear my heart beating. I am still here. For that, Lord, I am grateful. We are so busy. Especially in this day and age, because you're busy or to TikTok or tie mami akosia se wane odobro ni de eko eno ani busy no baby ye di obi atam ye gu obi ani mu ase na eho no wo waye pose waye busy ho no wo eho no otie. We don't even pause to listen to our own heartbeat. We don't even pause. Do we know say yensem ha? Any yenase kra a tingle. A tingle, what's a tingling feeling be? Ye deeper, like when you're very still and quiet and silent and you tune into your own self. You can even feel that tingly feeling in your palm and in your feet. How many times in a day do we even pause to do that? You need your whole time. That is why sometimes, oh, wow, I won't say, hey, I say, be a better one, and I be a better one now, and I be a better part of your body. Be one realizing, po, unim time crowd and a bike, or uni wunam wadaji. Baby sounds a dear na we and a would new wunam wadaji, sir. Until you're like, hey, that time been a dear better me, hey, not dear bad baby, you, better no, oh, better no, you're so busy. So called busy. And you know, solitude, the papa, is for growth, it's for renewal, it's for listening, it's for self-awareness. Self-awareness. Being able to catch yourself doing something. Being able to catch your own self doing something. It be a why your action be. Mama, my example. There are times where I mean, my husband yet sofa me hear TV. Na woman no apre me or say odo na or say Eric say me ya me de me toes pre no. Well, or say me I have a habit of me de me toes na me de ase me di titi no. But sometimes me ye po me nyim say me ye until say be a obe draw my attention say odo I feel the why me say there na or say toes oh, and apparently as I'm so much into a program be a me say good evening me home. Sometimes I'm so much into program be a me on the TV or I'm on my phone maybe watching something and I'm so into it to say I don't even realize me de me toes yeah they all cannot. Oh, that is lack of self-awareness. It's the same. Sometimes you're driving and you're not even aware because why doing a drift to baby? A big traffic light no no I cross the red light until the police ebe ye watch and as a camera be trying to say so I'm crossing red light. Oh, you know, solitude will help you to slow down in life kakra. Remember you slow down kakra. Now why you aware. Self-awareness, you become aware na me can be kura twa be a team be kura wunhui solitude babu am slowing down. So solitude is for me solitude is a good thing and I fully endorse it. Results of solitude, just like your isolation, result of isolation, you're rejecting counsel, shrinking in perspective, increases vulnerability to making poor decisions and so on. No results of solitude, it will restore your perspective, it will give you clarity, it will deepen your wisdom, it will strengthen your emotional health, it will prepare you to re-engage well with other people. Okay, until whereas abia before no lash it out at nipa, so drawing back, withholding yourself, not allowing yourself to be amongst people will allow you to assess issues better. It is sometimes a crampon, even in our relationships. You can argue with your husband, have a disagreement, heated, but obia maneho nenyonko some time, which is solitude. You allow each other space, which is why sometimes disagreements go for a walk, go get fresh air or whatever. You realize that now having that time to yourself, you're able to now reflect on what happened, what started the argument or the disagreement, how you could have handled it better. And then we will say eventually move back together. Now more a seminar. Cool heads would have prevailed, and now obie kasa with wisdom, as opposed to before. Into solitude, dear me, I'm a preacher of solitude, and solitude will make you lonely as well. Solitude, just like isolation, will make you lonely. Just that solitude is a healthy loneliness, and isolation is not a healthy one because I know now we'll cut to the extreme. And no na obu oho a otumi so isolated say na fe bone kura ba wutrim And then sometimes we the United States of America, we be say be will be at tamtuo, or boy school be, or kobo microphone kwada tuo wo ho. Ebekɔhwɛ mbokɔhwɛ ma yɛbɛkɔ akɔfa ne picture aba yɛbɛkɔ akɔfa ne history ne background wobɛhwɛ no yɛ lonely person ɔno nko ana na ɛte. And then the woman man a very nice terminology and I say ya say mental health. Yeah, that's the difference between the two, isolation and solitude. So Proverbs 1 is very clear. Proverbs 18:1 is talking about isolation, which is not a good thing. It is not talking about solitude. Solitude, Jesus Christ himself practiced solitude several times. You read in the Bible where Jesus and the disciples in the Garden of Gethsemane, that was solitude. Jesus at one point separated himself. In fact, disciples nada. You couldn't watch and pray with me for an hour, but he separated himself. Baby and then papa ko bomb by papa says let this cup pass over me. If we claim we are believers and we are walking with Christ and we're emulating Christ, we're trying our best to emulate him and his ways and everything there, then solitude, papa. Sometimes it is good so free nipa. Into men more being cancer will say, oh, you chung free nipa when no, bisa say nipa na sebe ebia wo amongst woman na wo chung free woman no. Moabe no mo diabo. Being amongst them, being with them, no, aboa to grow. Aboa to be a better person. And being amongst them, no, rather no, amawadane bibi woho. Sama wa ye bibi woho na se e disturb you peace dia. Then who free woman. Sometimes I listen to some of our politicians back home in Ghana, especially if I say MPP campaign, you see, you're listening to some of the politicians and you wonder, but why are you still in it? Why are you still in it? Because this thing, it's hurting you. It's causing you a lot of hurt and pain. And if it's causing you a lot of hurt and pain, why are you still in it? But then I suppose maybe because it's a job. And I don't know how people cope in some of these things, But recently, there's a lady, be a United States of America politician, also on running for office, be Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is a woman, about was it last year or so? Now, a Black Democrat politician, be Jasmine Crockett. Or no giddy. Wait, 2 man yonko now we have 2 man yonko wait because or no brony no Marjorie Taylor Greene or no ye pro-Trump or maga for no who just say no supported Donald Trump no cannot just need ding or more being kasebi. No problem. Nikunu boyfriend. Any reporter na Zelensky call White House last year na Donald Trump etia Zelensky Ukrainian president. So Mobeka reporter BBC President Zelensky said, does he even own a suit? Now then I watched your channel at the Oval Office or what a meeting I say. Marjorie Taylor Greene, no, the boyfriend is a guy, no. And so many more can say Marjorie Taylor Greene, no, also on running for office beam. Because upon the idea or Papa ya or Yama Donald Trump support you or supporting in the maga say akasakasa kakra ba wo montem Epstein files won someone adinade. President Trump didn't attempt basa wa friend is stupid, wa friend all manner of names. I find a woman and an issue at no. They say also on running for office because most are causing a hurt and pain. I want a bitterness. I want a bitterness, bitterness in the beba, but as to how long you let it linger on, no, and why problem na kwakobano. And to make kwako say sometimes enkoye mawa, it is okay so by chon we free nipa ho. Boni bi enim. That is a wo chon to do and near me ya mention wa heya. For you to grow It is, it is purposeful for you to go and pray, for you to seek clarity, for you to be able to listen to yourself, develop your self-awareness, renew yourself, deepen your wisdom, strengthen your emotional health, and etc., etc. You come back a better version of yourself. Until now, you're able to engage with people even better than before. And biblical Jesus, I said it, Jesus regularly did this. In fact, I share my notes in them. Jesus regularly did this. And a clear example, Mediamamo, was when he went, in the Garden of Gethsemane, he separated himself. Jesus did that a lot of times. A lot of times, he had 12 disciples, for heaven's sake. But most of the time, Jesus was on his own. Most of the time, he was on his own. One of the disciples, Nitibo to Numukurano. Now, I said that's wada. Or no, now you or bompaye. Or bompaye. Enti storm na baye no. Waves na ba gidi no. Now Jesus was so much in the spirit with ne papas, because we are in the spirit realm. He was so much in the spirit with ne papas, storm na baye kura wante. They've literally had to wake him up and tell him the storms. And all he said was, peace be still. And the storms were calm. Until now, imagine if we practice the same thing, how we will be able to calm so many storms in our lives. If we are able to occasionally separate ourselves from the crowd. And then nipa bebre afekubo, they want to belong into bad things. They say the ambano, no disrespect to anybody, no disrespect, Mesramo, no disrespect. But let's be mindful of the, and I mean, Kasemo Bianco join BBR, by all means, join as many as you want. But all this equal, boa joining equal bear me and so and so ladies, so and so this, so and so that, you're paying dues here, you're paying dues there, you're paying dues there. But then this equal is causing you problem. The other equal is causing you problem, especially the women's groups, This one too is causing problem. Itubo na debia and now free her asemo ha or china free her asemo. Now why you're stressed out? Why don't you save yourself the trouble? Menka say equal ni you, yes, and America. Equal ni you be enjoying it. But we'll join you, we'll go into the equal with wisdom. And solitude, the papa. Solitude say you need that quiet time and quiet space to grow. Then you can return to your community. Okay, you need that time to grow. That time and space to grow. Then you can return to the community. And even sometimes, even with your friendship groups and all that, you can separate yourself a little bit. And by the time you come back into that friendship group, you'll be a better friend. You'll be a better friend. Say your office, sometimes you don't have to announce these things because they can cause problems for you too. But because imagine being in your office and telling your office people, I'm practicing solitude now, so I'm not going to be talking to anybody in the staff room. I'm going to be by myself. And then whatever it is you're doing, however, now feel. Until you have to apply wisdom, still know how you are moving with people, but but at the end of the day, say you will be by yourself, because in times like this, people too don't understand what is happening with you. People around you who perhaps love you might not understand what is happening with you. And therefore, they too will think then the best thing to do is, why you're careful, you might feel very lonely. And train yourself, but it is okay. In fact, being by myself are the best times of my life. They are the best times of my life. Picking up the phone to call somebody at this ding. Sometimes Wi-Fi te woman me choose nipa be to be. Me say ne de ma me bisa obi ase na maye. Ada some meja voice no me be patcho me na me say me bisa wase me gidi say oh hu ya da and then ma send a message me bisa wase. And then that's it. because I've done the solitude thing. I enjoy it. That is not to say I don't have people around me. I have so many people around me, so many loved ones, good people I can seek good counsel from when I need good counsel after I have prayed. You know, let's know the difference so that we know exactly what we're doing. And this is what a lot of the pastors, the men of God, even leaders, some of our political leaders, this is what they do. Because you can't allow every another example. For example, Christmassy. I think I heard a speech from President Mahama where he said, say, on Christmas Day, for example, inipa be brave band fear. You know, everybody, friends, family, people want to come and say hello and greet you. And people have come with good intentions or receive as many as he could. But or see a drew baby, no. First lady, Mami Lodina say, okay, enough now. Yonko. So they left the house and they went somewhere central region for the rest of the Christmas season. President Mahama na Rebecca asked him with the greatest of respect to him. What's he say? You know, in a way, we can say that was solitude because he needed to separate himself. And he even said that for the first time in 2 years, and I went to Miada from 9 p.m. to the following morning, 12 hours, which me that for the first time. Because you're so you can own to me, nipa. As a time now benya for one kasa so self. Wow, and you know, sa wope obi asem na se etoda nipa no ye bibi sana. Sa wope nipa na sempa, allow them their space. Give them their space. I'm sure you see it happen with some of your friends or even some of your family members. The best you can do maybe is to send the person a message and say, you know what? I notice you've gone quiet. Well, I'm here for you when you are ready. Eve, good evening to you, sis. That's the best you can do. I notice you've gone quiet these days. Well, whatever it is, I love you and I'm here for you when you are ready. Nipa no be kind and obehu say. Nipa asimesi, they get it. They are there for me when I'm ready, whatever I'm going through, because everybody's allowed to go through whatever it is that they are going through. You know, is part of the wisdom, you know. Until let's not be afraid of sometimes separating ourselves. But it be perfect kubo. It be mo perfect kubo pao. It be mo perfect kubo. Say, ay. One in the now for 10 and kasa a day. Ufu one live. Esther, good evening. I'll say tell them more. Your pastor been in your call Germany, your former church at check. And send a many your choir and your choir program with Germany to choir for your pastor and your choir. And when a pastor preach and a woman be compared and wasam. Or say tell them, pastor, say tell you. What's here say, Ebimo Pafekubo, Afekubo, Afekubo, and now for some the Biash now confine somebody abremo. Yeah, that's that. Okay, solitude is a healthy pause. Isolation is a harmful disconnect. That's the difference. Solitude is a healthy pause. You can be amongst a healthy group of people, but sometimes you need that pause. You need to separate yourself a little bit. But when you're amongst a group of people that you know, say being with them is harmful, is harmful to you, disconnect. But then ensure that as you are disconnecting, you are not separating yourself completely from everybody else, because there are good people. There are some fun. My name is husband yeka. So as much as me say we believe that Ghana for be there are some good Ghana for and a good Ghana for there are some fantastic Ghanaians, beautiful people, beautiful spirits. Beautiful people, beautiful spirits. And when you encounter them, you realize that they keep to themselves until they meet the right people. Then they open up. Sana identity. Keep it to themselves. Then when you meet the right people and the spirits are beautiful, the spirits are connecting, all of you are aligned. You open up to each other. It is so beautiful because there's no jealousy, there's no envy, there's no competition. No. Ishiani yedi nkomo a obi uplifting ne nyonko, obi nim bibi a ochre ne nyonko we sua free we ho we sua free. To those relationships and no one bon buying. Especially those types of relationships, men fam to social media ne so. Men fam ma social media ne so. Before wo de beba so a making sure say wo de ba mona mo was our relationship no mo ye tight. Mo ye tight say obi ntumi ma meseye mo ntem. Then we bet me about social media. But se munye nuru sa level of tightness na obi betumi aba be say mo ntem dia men fam ma social media ne so. He will say I agree. I say no kura yesua nyansa bebre. Asam na maka kire mo no. Battery ni ye wu yankasa kakranka wona. I wu anto ye so. In a nutshell, no, that is what Proverbs 18 no is all about. Okay? We've talked about words, or say death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it and indulge it will eat its fruits and bear the consequences of their words. And yeah, it ends Proverbs 18 24 verses per. The man of too many friends, verse 24. The man of too many friends, chosen indiscriminately, will be broken into pieces and come to ruin. Mona mo pen now for semono. Now they are on TikTok no so. Mona mo pen and now for semono. And now for some now for now will be a madam for. Hey. Unim no where he. Missing the panny baby. Omu susu da susu. Esu ye tumi fa adamfo no. Ekun hu ntokwa. Ek kansa makese enso obi amfa nani hu ne nyonko da. Na bi fa so obi ani so. Nti the man of too many friends, chosen indiscriminately, will be broken into pieces and come to ruin. Mona moye yesi bibi the common enemy fight. Enipa no wuni mo no. Asimesi wo pa asimesi asem. Asimesi so ono wotan obi. Into automatically wo so wotan nipa akoro na nyame hu omobo. But there is a true loving friend who is reliable and sticks closer than a brother. Those are the kinds of friends we need in our lives. May we be them and may we have them. May we be the kinds of friends who stick closer than a brother for somebody. May we be those kinds of friends that asem to yadam fubia hemachia. They know say Marie dear say me fa phone na me friend Marie 2 a.m. Marie ne Eric bed drive every Doncaster abba me ho baby amewo. That is the kind of friend we wish to be. May we be them and may we also have them. Otherwise, the rest of them, they made a cultural plane forget to woman. And it's just a waste of time. Life no a one pill. Life no a one pay. Yeah. Those are the 2 points I wanted to really talk about. And Proverbs 18 solitude versus isolation. If you didn't know the difference, then maybe by the grace of God and between the two now go and work on yourself. And if you want to practice solitude, feel free and practice solitude. You don't owe anybody anything. You don't owe your friends, your family, nobody. So you're going to go and work on your own self. Therefore, this is why sometimes some of us, you see us, we leave the social media completely. Around about August, September last year. Was it August, September? There, because I went to Ghana in October and came back in December. And before I went, because I was in Ghana when I opened my new Facebook account. Before then, I had left Facebook for about 3 months. I just woke up one morning. I was like, you know what? Enough. just put the thing in there, delete. My TikTok had about 88,000, almost 90,000 following. I said delete it because I wanted to clear my head of, a whole lot of enema. Now politics, now doors, it was just too much. It was beginning to affect my social media. Even the platform, Facebook, was always sending me warnings. And now Facebook to make a video be me posting in 2020. Obe question was say vote for somebody, vote bibi into nebuafu or no Facebook nebuafu. No the red one aba, no the yellow one aba, no the no one day miss you know what enough. Yen delete ade ne nyina na start afresh na me kora beboa me ma enipa ne bebre so na abegu ma yesi ye follow enso atamfo nko a no awurade wo mu nyina obi ankodwen ne ho enti ne yen delete the whole thing. Aha, we kura me bie ne fofori bebre na wo ma be follow no any be a different request by ya me accept ye kora to da me da ho me it only takes a post e ba me feed nim na me ready na mehwe na nya nyansa seb te se dia wa nyansa bia ni dia wa tworo no ana dia wa posti no say bia wo ma obo no obi na wa posti oba bi nsa ana aha and you are out. I don't care who you are. You are out. Just a me na me to me who be stories keke kura me kohwe na wo ye follower wo me follow for the usuba ni na wo dey follow me free hako ma you were free. I'd rather one follower me. I would rather me following my own self than having a gazillion of followers and sebe dodoana ebi enyanyansa sem no mu posti I don't even want that in my space. And I me to me who so obi ebi a me who obi akọ commenti bibi or baby me hwe am say there bi e wo ebi a political something na nipa na kan bibi or baby me hwe am say nipa is just a matter of time ebi obi hu me nso me video de suban ma din kakra block wo dada me hia o ha me din kakra block wo dada. You know, yeah, bibia be okay. Let's learn to put some of these things into practice. And have good people around us. People who will help us to be better versions of ourselves. Yes, so you boy for almost to be better versions of themselves. Those are the kinds of people we need in our lives. Okay. Affirmations, the last three, or say, I give and receive love effortlessly. I give and receive love effortlessly. Money flows to me easily and effortlessly. I am capable of achieving anything I set my mind to. Okay? Amen. If you're laughing, sis, I lie. This is the Bible telling us all these things. So all these life lessons are in the Bible. You practice. See you guys tomorrow. Good night.